Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Spookypops here, updating my old armoring leveling guide for the Brimstone Sands New World expansion. Armoring allows you to create different types of light, medium, and heavy armor. You can also create bags and gemstone dust. A lot has changed since New World launched, so if you are leveling armoring on a fresh start server, this is the guide for you. Before we get into the leveling process, there are a few important tips you need to know to guarantee the most efficient leveling process. I don't want to repeat these tips throughout the video, so here they are up front. Let's start with the biggest change coming to Brimstone Sands. Amazon has implemented a first-time craft bonus where you receive double the experience for crafting an item. When making linen gloves for the first time, you receive 216 experience rather than 108. Although this change is huge for all trade skills, it is especially important for armoring because there are so many armor pieces available to craft. This change applies to each leveling tier. From levels 0 to 200, the first craft of each item grants you this double experience bonus, so take advantage of it. As you transition to the next leveling tier, craft every piece of armor and thank Amazon for all the free experience. While leveling armoring, town board quests grant massive amounts of armoring experience for a relatively low amount of resources. The system unfortunately is limited as there is a 30-minute timer for the town board quest to reset. They are also random, so on one reset of quest you may see no armoring missions while on another reset you might get 2. However, supplement these town board quests with the normal leveling process to save time, resources, and gold. One thing to note is that there are many people who advise to spec to 100 focus when crafting in bulk. However, this tip does not work, so don't bother with it. The 100 focus attribute bonus you receive only applies to repair parts. Finally, the perfect salvage system is another way to gain free armoring experience. As you salvage items, you may receive scraps from items you perfectly salvage. This system is completely random, but when you do perform a perfect salvage, the item returns scraps that can be used to grant additional armoring experience. Using them while leveling armoring saves you time and resources. Those are all the tips you should follow when you are leveling armoring. Now, let's get into the leveling process. In the Brimstone Sands expansion, the gloves still provide the most armoring experience per resource used. The type of gloves depends on what you prefer to gather. If you prefer to gather leather, then craft medium gloves. If you prefer to gather linen, then craft the light gloves. I always had an easier time gathering leather from animals than linen and silk, so I prefer crafting medium gloves. But it's totally up to you. From levels 0 to 50, we will start by crafting each piece of armor to obtain the first time craft bonus. You can craft the armor pieces at the outfitting station and the forge. Crafting every piece of armor should provide enough experience to level you close to level 50. Whatever experience remains, we will craft coarse leather gloves. Once you are level 50, transition to the next tier level because Amazon has reduced the amount of experience you receive from crafting a tier below your actual level. This same experience reduction applies when you reach levels 100 and 150. From levels 50 to 100, we will craft 245 rugged leather gloves after you craft each piece of armor for the first time craft bonus. 245 rugged leather gloves requires 980 rugged leather, 980 linen, and 245 iron ingots. Here is where the armoring leveling process begins to slow down. If you have not been following the tips I explained in the first part of this video, I seriously recommend you do so now to save countless hours, resources, and gold. There is a large amount of raw materials we will need to gather for this leveling tier, and if you are not following those tips, you are basically wasting hours of your life. From level 100 to 150, we will craft 390 layered leather gloves after crafting each piece of armor for the first time craft bonus. 390 layered leather gloves requires 1560 layered leather, 1560 linen, and 390 iron ingots. As you gather the leather, be on the lookout for the tier 4 hides, which can be substituted for layered leather. Once you are level 150, pat yourself on the back for a job well done, but our work is not yet finished. Amazon has made many positive crafting changes to speed up the leveling process. From levels 150 to 200, there are a few things we need to do. First, craft every piece of armor for the first time craft bonus to include the Expedition replica armor if you have the mats for it. If you like to spam dungeons, You will obtain specific materials like ancient talismans and sticky vines to craft these special replicas. Crafting these special replicas provides the most experience for all resources needed. These materials can also be traded. Snipe them off the trade post for quick crafts that grant massive amounts of experience. If you don't have access to these materials, then craft 720 infused leather gloves. This requires 2900 infused leather, 2900 linen, and 700 iron ingots. It is possible to replace infused leather with tier 5 hides, but it's not recommended because we will want to save those materials for doing our daily runic leather crafts. So you might be wondering which method, expedition replicas or infused leather gloves, is most efficient. It is a nuanced discussion, and it all depends on whether or not you can obtain the expedition materials. The most efficient method is to gather the leather, linen, and iron while friends or company members are spamming dungeons for the expedition materials. If you are solo and trying to be one of the first level 200 armorers, then your best option is to gather the leather, linen, and iron while attempting to snipe the expedition materials from the trade post. If you cannot obtain the expedition materials, then crafting the infused leather gloves is your best option. However, if you don't care about being one of the first on the servers, then gather the raw materials and craft the gloves while you wait for the expedition materials to appear on the market. Let's talk a little bit about the best way to gather the raw materials needed to level armoring. Whenever gathering raw materials, I always use this New World interactive map that shows you the location of every possible resource. For example, when collecting fibers, I plan my farming routes based on the location of the dense areas with the most fibers. Using this map and planning your route is ideal when doing any serious farming. I will include the link to this map below. Finally, your armoring journey wouldn't be complete without the entire armor outfit. In Brimstone Sands, you can obtain this set in different ways, but the fastest way is to farm the mobs who drop the gear. You obtain the armor hat while farming Leviathan of the Deep in Shattered Mountains. You obtain the armor shirt by farming the Siren's Pinky in Reekwater. You obtain the armor gloves by farming the Siren's Hand in Reekwater. You obtain the pants by farming the Siren's Pistol in Reekwater. You obtain the boots by farming Abiogenesis in Eden Grove. To complete the set, you will need to either craft or obtain an earring with a perk granting armoring mastery to increase your armor craft by 5. Don't forget the food buff by eating spicy cabbage soup and your armor trophies, and then you are good to craft those in-game weapons at 595 to 600. That's it for this comprehensive armoring guide for the Brimstone Sands expansion of New World. Hope you enjoyed your leveling process. I'll see y'all next time. Spookypops out.